Welcome to Life with Beth and Court,
where we teach you how to live authentically and build your best life,
one step at a time.
So now you can't move your hand as if you're really on stage.
Damn it.
Singing and tapping along with the audience on your microphone.
That makes me real sad.
But you do have the in-ears now.
I do.
So you can hear yourself, which it might be terrible for our productivity.
And I'm unleashed. It's not holstered right now. By it, I mean the microphone, in case anyone's confused.
That would be very odd trying to visualize what you meant by it is not holstered.
We'll have to take a picture. You should take a picture right now. Actually, you're probably going to want to wait until the mic check to take a video because I have a surprise for you.
Oh! Mm-hmm. What are we mic checking to this fine, lovely quarantine day, Miss Court?
First of all, it is not a lovely quarantine day because we were both assaulted in our facial region when we tried to take a midday walk when the sun was out for 30 seconds. And
just
then
getting that blood pumping.
Yeah. And then it just got real nasty real fast.
My face got windburned.
I felt so bad. I was like, babe, I think it'll be a good idea if we go for a walk today. Look, the sun's out and it hasn't been out all day.
Outside.
Yeah. And then you were very unhappy.
You were trying to be super casual about it too. You were like, I mean, it's fine. And I was like, aren't you going to bring gloves? It says it feels like 20 out. And you're like, no, I'll just put them in my pocket.
Well, for the 30 seconds that the sun was out, I was fine. And then it started snowing with sun. And then the sun went away. And then that wind came out of nowhere.
But it was like snow pellets.
It was,
to be clear.
Hail. That's called hail.
It wasn't hail though, because hail is harder. They were snow pellets.
Okay.
It was just little. It was like the angels were throwing down little snowballs.
I'm so glad you're not a meteorologist. And today we have a chance of tiny snow pellets. It's called hail.
Today we have a chance of snowballs.
Anyway, I have been waiting for the perfect podcast to do this intro. And it's a little extended, but I promise you it's well worth it. When I was a child and I would stay up late, when the TV would go fuzzy, just before that, back in the good old days, they had infomercials that would be on at like 1 a.m. And for some reason, when I was like 5 years old, they had a love song infomercial. And since we're talking about the 5 love languages today,
oh boy,
I thought I would recite the entire thing back to back for you. So it's extended, but this has been cemented in my brain since I was 5 years old. You can ask Beth Ann when I can't sleep. I'll just start singing the whole infomercial.
Very true.
Ready? And I will love you so for always. Baby, come to me. Joanna, lady in red. Think of Laura, love will lead you back. Don't forget me when I'm gone. Lean on me. Yeah! Whew. I practice that so I don't get dementia.
That's how you combat dementia?
Yep. I think of things from when I was 5 years old and practice them. It's my secret.
Oh, is it working?
Yes. I don't know. I
don't know. All right. Welcome back to another episode of Life with Beth and Court. I'm Beth.
I'm Court.
And today we are not singing a mashup of love songs. We are actually talking about the 5 love languages.
Come on. That was kind of a perfect segue.
I mean, it was a perfect segue because you took the best of all the eras.
Yeah. It was actually just from the 80s. Yeah. It was just 80s.
But let's be real.
Jams.
That's when all the greatest love songs came out anyway.
True. And at that time, you could get all 6 disc set collection for $19.99.
Oh,
and if you act now, we'll throw in a bonus set.
So today we're talking about the 5 love languages, which was first coined by Dr. Gary Chapman. Mm-hmm. The reason we're talking about this is the other day we were at a friend's house and we were talking about, not the other day, not literally the other day. I say that figuratively, like
You're going to get us in trouble.
A month ago, because we've been in quarantine for 7 years already.
It was the last group of people we saw before we went into quarantine.
That's true. So it was very close to the beginning of quarantine. But anyway, we were talking about the differences between how she felt loved and how he felt loved. And we started talking about the 5 love languages because it is super instrumental in understanding how you feel love, how you give love, how your partner feels love, and how your partner gives love.
And I think it started over tacos.
It
And
definitely
we were joking about how Kurt is like, "Don't I look hot? Don't you think I look hot? Tell me I'm hot." And Gretchen was like, "Yeah, you look hot. Now can you help me with the laundry?" And we're like, "Oh yeah, this is definitely the love languages. Like they're speaking in different languages and they're needing to receive it in different ways."
Yeah, and we have been familiar with the 5 love languages for a very long time, so it kind of is second nature for us to refer to, well, that example you just gave would be words of affirmation versus acts of service.
Sure.
And you can imagine how that translates very differently in a relationship if one person likes to be told that he's hot and the other one wants help with laundry.
Yeah. Apples and oranges.
Then if you don't understand that, it's just like the DISC or the DISC behavior assessment and the Myers-Briggs personality test and all of those different tests that kind of just categorize us into general buckets of what makes us us. And it's very helpful in decoding and basically acting as a cipher to figure out how to interact with other humans.
And it doesn't mean just romantic relationships. When you're talking about the love languages, it can be with colleagues, with friendships, with children. Like you can apply it to so many different facets. And I think out of all of the quizzes we've talked about, like you just mentioned, to me, this was the easiest one. Like it was a super quick assessment that I took.
To take it?
No. It was the easiest one for me to actually grasp onto, to understand and to apply it. Like, oh, that person feels loved when this, and oh, my needs aren't being met in my love language, so that's why I'm frustrated. So I know that sometimes those quizzes can get really overwhelming and the results can kind of seem overwhelming. Yeah. So to me, this was the first quiz I took and the first concept I was like, okay, I got this. Like I can work with this.
All right. So let's kick off by talking about what are the 5 love languages and kind of what is this concept that Dr. Chapman introduced.
Let's talk a little bit about the history. Gary Chapman, he has had many professions. So he is a PhD, an author, a speaker, and a counselor, and he's really passionate about helping people and helping them have lasting relationships. So when he was in his early years as a marriage counselor, he noticed over and over that couples would voice similar complaints regarding their marriage. So one spouse would say something like, "I feel like he doesn't love me," and the other would protest, "I don't know what else to do. I'm doing everything I should be doing."
I feel like you could just see that in like the Facebook news feed too.
What do you mean?
That exact argument.
Oh, I was just going to say, sound familiar? Yeah. Anyone had that conversation? And as he was meeting with these couples, he recognized a pattern. And so he went back through his session notes of all of these couples and he asked himself, when someone said, "I feel like my spouse doesn't love me," what do they actually want? Like, what are they wanting out of that comment? And when he would dig through the answers, they fell into 5 categories. So then this unique approach and how to effectively love another person is where the 5 love languages came from.
Got it.
Out of this discovery came the framework of the 5 love languages. And so basically he realized that all of us have a love language that we prefer over others. So out of the 5, we all have one that makes us feel more loved than the other 4.
Can we talk about what those love languages are?
Yeah, definitely. Do you want to walk through just an overview or do you want to dig into each one?
Let's dig into each one.
Okay, so before we go into that, it's important to know that the framework was designed so you can have like a secret tool. Basically, you have insight so you can feel confident in communicating love for other people and you can feel confident in communicating what makes you feel loved. Because when we talk about it, relationships are really hard work and they take intentional time and commitment. When you're not on the same page, you're making friction, and the goal is to keep the relationship alive as long as possible, and that can feel really challenging when you're speaking in different love languages. The interesting thing is, if you don't know about the love languages, you typically give to others in the way that you most feel loved. So as we walk through these, we'll talk about some times where we had examples where we were in situations where people were giving us love languages they thought we were receptive to, but it was actually the way they showed love.
Right. So let's kick off with what the actual 5 love languages are. So the first one we'll talk about is words of affirmation. Mm-hmm. I'll let you talk about that one.
So words of affirmation is the language where you're using words to affirm other people. So if we go back to Kurt and Gretchen, Kurt really values when Gretchen is like, damn, you're looking really good today. Or I really like the way that you engaged with the kids and the way that you guys had activity time together.
Or even like, oh my gosh, you're really smart. Or you're really good at what you do at work.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be just compliments. Like it can be something as simple as saying, I really appreciate that you help me out around the house. Or I really appreciate that you're so thoughtful. So really you're just taking what you love about them and you're putting it into words because, well, really that's it.
Basically, words of affirmation are people loving when you verbalize your appreciation for them.
Yeah. And it doesn't always have to be verbally. It can be a handwritten note. Like when we leave notes for each other, notes go a very long way. And that is an example of words of affirmation.
Get it? Because words can be verbal or written.
Yes, they can.
The next one is acts of service. And I'll explain this one because this is typically how I show you love. And as we'll get to later, that is not how you like to be shown love.
Yeah, we should also say that this podcast stemmed from Kurt and Gretchen, but also we've been super pissy with each other lately.
Real pissy.
And I decided to retake the quiz because I've been taking this quiz probably for 6 or 7 years. I think I took it 7 years ago the first time.
And I only take it when Court asked me to take it again.
Right. So we both just took it again and we'll get to that later, but it explains why we want to rip each other's face off lately. Anyway, back to acts of service.
So acts of service is simply that people prefer when your actions speak louder than your words.
Yeah.
So you like when your words speak louder than your actions, and I like when your actions speak louder than your words.
Which is probably really challenging for us because I hate doing stuff.
It is all summed up with I hate doing anything.
Right. So when I do dishes, I'm like, here's your acts of service. Now, what words are you going to give me? What words of affirmation?
Right. And Court, is that a healthy way of interacting with someone, is showing love in order to get love back? Or is that a boundary violation?
Sure isn't, but I don't care sometimes. So anyway, acts of service can be something like doing the dishes or taking their car and filling it up with gas, or thinking of it in a work setting. If you offer to make copies for someone or you get them coffee or things like that.
You feel loved when your other helps around the house, fills your car up with gas, basically shows in some way with their actions that they've been thinking about you.
Puts a sticky note on your door. Did I
That's
do that
words
before?
of affirmation.
But it was an act of service. I had to write it out and
No,
go
it
and put it
wasn't.
on your door quietly while you were on
my
our
dear.
call.
No, that is bartering there. All right, so number 3 would be, well, they're in no particular order, but number 3 that we have listed is receiving gifts. And so this is someone who feels loved when you get them gifts. And that doesn't mean that they have to be big, expensive gifts or always like...
They could be homemade, too.
They could be homemade. It could just be like a trinket that they thought to buy you on a trip that they were on without you, just to show like, hey, I know I was without you, but I was thinking about you the whole time. Here's a bracelet.
Right. Like those are souvenir people. I think souvenirs stemmed from someone whose love language was gifts. And they're like, we're just going to make everyone feel loved with their name on it and just some seashells.
Which I do. My love language is primarily gifts now, which we'll get to in a little bit. I just gave it was a spoiler
saying
alert.
That. You're
I
like,
know.
acts of service is mine. This one's mine.
I know.
We'll get to it later.
But listen, I don't like trinkets.
It's my lowest one, so I really struggle with it. And when I was working as a director at the center, I had this staff member who was super sweet, and she would always offer to get me lunch and bring me lunch, and she'd give me like these cute little gifts or trinkets, and it was very frequent. And it was challenging for me because I really appreciated that she was trying to do things for me, but on the scale of everything else, it wasn't my top love language. And I remember I had my staff do motivation by appreciation quiz, which was co-written by Gary Chapman.
Right.
And it was talking about love languages within the workplace and what made them feel motivated. And sure enough, when I got her scores back, I was like, oh, your love language is gifts. So you're giving me gifts to show that you love me.
Right.
So it's just really interesting because before that I was like, Why is there a thing on my desk again? Where'd this come
But
from?
like, it's interesting though, because our minds, like, we're trying so hard to show love, and then that other person's like, I don't feel loved by you. And you're like, what are you talking about? I want to bang my head against the wall because I'm literally doing everything I can to show you that I love you. And they're like,
but you're
what?
speaking your
Right.
language, not
Right.
their language.
Which is why we're talking about this today, is hopefully to help you decode some of your closest relationships if you're having troubles in that area.
kind of like a cipher, like a mystery puzzle.
It definitely
that you
is like
get
a
to solve.
cipher. All right, next one is quality time.
Oh, this is a good one.
Yeah, to those who admire quality time, it sure is.
So this language is all about giving the other person your attention. Look at me, spend time with me. Here I am. That just came from the heart. Not
Yeah.
sure why it sounded like Ariel.
So I was like, are you trying to do a Frozen rendition? It sounded very Disney-esque. So quality time is someone who just wants to be around you
Yeah.
all the time.
And I think there's different levels of it as I'm finding through quarantine, because I love you so much, but just being near you lately isn't quite my kind of quality time.
Well, it's not mine either.
All
toots.
right. Glad we got that out of the way. So for me, quality time means when you're doing activities together or you're both working on something that you both enjoy. It's really just having something to be present and be intentional with your time and be together.
So you like to play cards, play dice. I like to watch movies. That doesn't count in your book, apparently.
Yeah, we sure. What's interesting is we had another mini inspiring conversation, and finally we were like, what the hell? This is our third inspiring conversation since we just bragged about not having one for 9 months. What is happening?
Well, we've also been locked in with each other nonstop.
I thought we could beat that, but I guess not.
No,
So,
because when you're around other humans this much, there's
Yeah.
like no reprieve.
yeah. So we did have that inspiring conversation where Beth thought quality time was us watching a movie together on Netflix. And I finally said, this does not feel like quality time to me. And I just need to make that known.
And I was like, why is it not quality time to watch The Life of Tay Tay via
That was a
documentary?
very good documentary.
I know.
We ended up not being mad at each other. We like held hands halfway through after
But
eating
that's
popcorn.
because you can bond through the experience of
Stop.
watching a movie.
It's because I felt bad we were fighting.
Oh, that is not true.
It is
You were like,
true.
man, this is so enlightening. I'm so glad that I have such a thoughtful partner.
Disclaimer, quality time is different for everyone, and it's important to have that conversation because I very well could have sat through another movie and been pissed off and not said anything, but I don't roll that
Another
way.
movie?
Yeah.
Get out of here. You love my movies. All right. Number 5 is physical
Let's get
touch.
physical. I want to get physical. Can you hear the fade?
I mean, I can see your head
It just
going
made
back
me a
and
little
forth.
nauseous.
Yeah.
Sorry, try again.
So physical touch is basically a person likes to be touched.
I'm going to go off of the website in case Gary Chapman ever hears this or anyone in his circle. They are very intentional about defining it's an appropriate touch, such as touching someone on the back, holding their hand, rubbing
God,
their
I
leg.
would love if that was like the email we got from Dr. Gary Chapman himself, who's like, I was listening to your episode and it wasn't accurate.
That's your dog voice.
Well, it's kind of just my imitation voice. But anyway, I doubt Dr. Gary Chapman is listening to our podcast. But if he is, yes, sir, physical touch means appropriate touch.
Yeah. So everything I just listed, holding hands, patting someone on the back, rubbing their hair, hand on their knee. Why are you laughing?
Because you literally just pulled your mouth completely away from the mic to
Oh.
pet your own head.
Yeah, it's really hard to do. It's hard to multitask. But for some people, that sensation or that touch is what makes them feel the most loved. Like if you're out in public together and you put your arm around your significant other or you put your hand on their waist. I don't really get it, but I know that it makes other people feel loved.
Well, I don't think it's either of our top love
No,
language.
but mine climbed higher than it had before.
Mine dropped. So,
that's
okay,
weird.
we keep alluding to what our love languages are. So let's just spill it.
Yeah, we probably should have started with that since
Yeah,
apparently
probably.
we can't stop referencing it. I've taken this test multiple times over the past 7 years, and my top has always been words of affirmation. Second has always been quality time, and then the bottom 3 have rotated. And so when I took it yesterday, we have a new leader. So my number 1 is quality time, and I had 11 points. My second one was words of affirmation, which was 10 points. Acts of service came in third, which was 4. Physical touch was 3, and receiving gifts was 2. So what's really interesting about this, when we talk about Beth Ann's results, mine were really high bracketed together at the top, and then the bottom ones were really low, and hers were a more even keel. And I was like, oh, so you're way easier to impress and make feel loved than I am.
Super low key.
Because I have
Yeah.
higher extremities. And we also discovered, with gifts being my absolute lowest love language, Beth is like, oh, that's kind of all I do for you. Like, I got you the futon, and I got you the light in your room, and I got you this, and I got you that. And I'm like, yeah, let's see what your number 1 is, because I bet that's why you're doing it, because that's your highest.
And the results show, ding, 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 receiving gifts comes in highest. But like you
So
said,
weird. That used to be low for you.
yeah, receiving gifts did used to be low for me. But I think it's interesting. Maybe it's because, so before, my top 1 used to be physical touch, I think.
Yeah, I think it was physical touch, quality time, acts of service, words of affirmation, and then
So
receiving gifts.
basically,
You did a big flip.
yeah, basically it used to be physical touch. And I don't know if that changed because once I started getting physical touch, I was like, oh, now
It's not that great.
yeah, not that it's not that great, but like, I guess I didn't really have anything to compare it to, because before I used to always take this as a single human, and I didn't want people, I didn't want like other people touching me, but like my family is super tactile. So growing up in my family, everyone was always like tickling each other's back or playing with each other's hair or giving each other shoulder rubs or whatever. Like my family was always super tactile. And part of me wonders if physical touch almost dropped because I get it from you. Like we are in close proximity a lot.
Right.
So part of me wonders if it almost, like, if gifts almost rose to the top because it seems more like a treat.
Because I'm a cheap ass. Yeah. I'm just going to throw that out there. As soon as I saw that was your top language, I was like, God, why? I'm going to go get you rocks from outside. Little trinkets and tokens.
No, they have to be meaningful. That's the whole point.
I'm going to write I love you on the rock and set it outside your door.
Gosh. So I think, like, part of me wonders if that's why mine flip-flops so much, because I do get physical touch a lot, but the receiving gifts is a little bit more of a treat. You were the first person who went like all out on my birthday.
Oh, at the apartment.
Like all out.
That took a lot of work.
I know. I shouldn't say that. If my mom ever listens to this podcast, she also threw some great parties when I was 8. And when I was like 15 and 16, she did a knockout job with surprise parties with me, and I am very forgetful, so she was able to surprise me multiple years in a row. Anyway, when you showered me with gifts on my birthday, it was super exciting for me, and I guess I don't know that I'd ever had that before. So then, because of this is so bizarre, because of your gift giving abilities, it actually made me look forward to the holidays even more.
Aww,
the holidays and my birthdays and stuff.
Before.
So yeah, I know.
I'm the gift-giving love language goddess. That's what I just heard you say.
So you did play a part in that. And also my best friend, her love language is gift giving. And so that's something that she does every holiday for me as well. And so I don't know, maybe it flip-flopped because of what I was experiencing in real life. But it is interesting because, like you said, I have a lot more closeness between mine. So the gap between your second highest love language and your third is 6 points.
Yeah. 11, 10, 3, 4, 2.
And mine is 9 for receiving gifts, 8 for acts of service, 6 for physical touch, 5 for quality time, and 2 for words of affirmation.
So when we looked at these side by side, ours are completely freaking flipped. And I was like, no wonder I want to punch you in the chest 5 times a day.
Oh, that is new information to me.
Just
so
like
thank you.
Like a Power Ranger punch. Yeah.
You're hearing like the scrappiest versions of us. We're actually very loving to each other.
But for real, like when you look at it side by side, we're laughing about it, but we literally went, oh, okay. Like we are completely opposite right now. So what you're needing the most of, I don't value at all. And what I'm needing the most of, you don't value at all. So we keep butting heads because it's so different than what it was the last time we took it.
But then you think about this. So I feel like I'm showing love because I'm doing the laundry, I'm doing the dishes, I'm sweeping, I'm doing all this stuff around the house, I'm taking the garbage out, I'm doing.
And
I'm
you
taking care of the
expect
leaves.
me to say, oh my God, thank you.
Right.
I do say thank you. I say
Yes,
thank
you
you
do.
more than anyone, but I'm not like, thanks, babe. I feel so loved. I'm like, thank you. Gotta go. It doesn't make me feel loved at all.
Yeah.
To me, it's just, and I think we even had a fight one time where I was like, it's not my fault. You're OCD and you're obsessed with cleaning and that's what you love doing. You're like, I'm doing it because I love you and I want to help you. And I'm like, what the F are you talking about? You just like to clean.
That was a long time ago. That was like
I still
way
feel that
long
way
ago.
sometimes.
You do feel that way a lot. And so I'm showing love in the way that I feel loved. And then to just skip back, thanks. And like,
No,
nothing.
I've learned. I say thank you for doing the dishes. Thank you for doing the laundry.
But my point is,
and I will point out, I washed our bedding last week.
my point is, it's not a thanks. I got the dishes next time, or
Oh no,
thanks. I'll take out the trash now. So to me, I'm like, why don't you love me? And to you,
That's so
you're
weird.
putting notes on my door while I'm on conference calls
Yeah.
saying, I love you. You're the best.
And I come in and I randomly sit on your lap and kiss your forehead because that's quick quality time.
And you give me all of your random thoughts one at a time.
That is the highest and finest form of quality time, which reminds me, I need to post on social media about our sticky note signs that we made this week.
Oh my gosh.
Because sometimes I
came
love
from
quality
that came from another fight we had because okay, let's just walk through this real quick.
I actually don't remember it, so I'm excited
I
to
remember
hear it.
So basically you said, hey, can we do the budget on, it was a Saturday morning.
I said we need to do the budget today.
Okay. And when I woke up, I said, man, I'm really excited to read today. Then you said,
This was mini meltdown Saturday.
we
I
need to
remember.
do the budget. And probably sooner than later because we have to make, I don't know, a food order or whatever. And we need to make sure that all of our stuff.
Thank you for being fiscally responsible, darling.
Ooh, you just said fiscally correct.
I did?
Normally she says physically and doesn't understand why it sounds different.
I avoid that word at all costs in professional settings.
After I pointed out that you're definitely not saying it correctly. Anyway, so she asked if we could do the budget first. I said, yeah. And it basically meant me doing the budget because something was off and you're like, I can't figure out where the missing line item is, blah, blah, blah. So I start doing the budget as you had asked me to do before I read, before I got to read. And you sat across from me.
And I did my DARS survey.
Yep.
Oh, no. DARS means survey. The word's in there.
And you waited approximately 3 minutes before you started telling me all the thoughts in your head. And I said, uh-huh. And then you'd wait and you'd say another thought. And I said, uh-huh. And you're like, you listening to me? And I said, yes, but I'm trying to do the budget like you asked me to 4.5 minutes ago.
For all couples out there, is code for no, I'm not listening. Just in case you were wondering.
So I said, I'm doing what you had asked me to do 4 minutes ago. And you're like, but I need you to listen to me. And I was like, well, do you want me to do the budget or would you like me to listen to you? You have a choice. And you said, well, why don't you tell me what you're doing? I said, you literally just asked me to do this. I don't know why you wouldn't know that I'm doing the budget right now. And you're like, when you work on your computer, I don't know what you're looking at. So she came up with this idea to wear sticky notes
as name tags.
of
and I
what
wrote
we're doing.
budget on yours and I wrote
Self-development.
self-development on mine. That way we could glance at each other during our quality time, and should we choose to take a break from the budget, say, hey babe, what are you working on over there on your self-development? Tell me more. Well, my sweet cheeks,
Oh my God.
I'm doing this. I've never called you that.
I know that
weird.
was very odd to hear you say. But anyway, we went to eat lunch after that at some point, and you were mad again, and you were scowling at me over our salads, and I started to smirk, and you said, "Don't smirk, I'm mad." And I said, "I know, and your sticky note needs to be updated to eating." And then you broke out in a little bit of a laugh, and then you were mad that you laughed.
Yeah.
We had a rough Saturday.
Yeah.
Anyway, all this to say, our love languages are very different, and it's really important for us to be mindful of what the other one's top love language is, not our own, so that we can make the other feel loved instead of giving in a language that means something to us, but nothing to the other person, apparently.
Nothing. Not a thing. I actually need to write down your love languages on a sticky note and put them on my desk. That way I can make sure that I am communicating in a way you feel loved.
I had to ask you for sticky notes so that I could communicate in your love language, because I'm a paper-free office in my side of the house, and you like to put sticky notes,
And I
sticky love
gave
notes
you
on my
the
yeah.
gift of
Oh
teal
my
sticky
gosh,
notes, your
that is
favorite
not considered
color.
a gift.
I just want to go back to what you said when you said you took the quiz for singles back when you first took it. And there are so many different resources on the 5 Love Languages website. And when you take the quiz, it's totally free. It's all over their website. You would either take it as a single person or someone who's in a couple. And then they also have all of these really great books that are specific to love languages around different areas. So they have it for singles, for couples, for men, for women. There's a military edition. There's a child edition. So you can go and see all of those resources. And then there's also a podcast, curriculum, study guides. So we're going to link all of those in the show notes for you guys.
All right, as we always say, take what's helpful, leave the rest. We hope that something we said here today was enlightening. Go over and take the test on the 5 Love Languages website. We'll link to it, like Court said, in the show notes. And until next week, our friends, keep building your best life.
Bye, guys.